Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt, and you'll hear from the AI from on high in a little bit. But before we get there, I'm going to tell you the rundown of the articles. We're going to have an article about Marvel's Avengers that won't be supported after September. The pilot of the helicopter that's on Mars. Elon Musk is going to be raising possibly the prices for Twitter Blue. We're going to explain, actually somebody else is going to explain, but we're going to report that explaining on why some companies don't even bother having you return the items you want refunded. We're going to talk about people with insomnia and sleep paralysis. Video game companies lay off workers and hire others at the same time. The Justice Department investigation of Abbott. A whole bunch of electric vehicles are coming out. Google is leaning on Larry Page and Sergey Brin to come back and fight ChatGPT. That almost is a t-shirt right there. Missouri inmates decide that they're going to climb through a hole of muck and try to get out of a prison. And scientists welcome a new astronaut, Nobel Prize winning House Science Committee now member. Let's get into today's articles. Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt, and that is ohmtown.com, and the voice from on high, the AI, the one and only.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
And if their voice synthesizer is not working, you'll be able to hear me scream and not through this stream. What's been going on today? Well, we had a whole bunch of new wiring put in ohmTown. Not just today, but a little while, the day before yesterday. We reconstructed some stuff. We've changed some things. There's a whole new exciting year ahead of us, and I wanted to change some things and make it better, but you know what I did? It didn't quite work out the way it was supposed to. But we do have the news, and we're going to get into it now. Want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone.
Okay, just want to make sure everything's working right. Hey, the first article for today is in the Warcrafters channel, and it's Marvel's Avengers won't be supported after September. Publisher Square Enix was openly disappointed by the performance of Marvel's Avengers, which released in the summer of 2020 to middling reviews. They have a link in this article that we're going to talk about over at PC Gamer. 2.5 years later, the live service superhero game has seen its last content update, and it'll stop being actively supported before the year's out. That's right. So if your birthday is sometime in September and you own this and you play it, it will not be updated after that. Won't be supported, won't be doing anything. Timeless, hello, how are you? We're running through the news today, so if you're interested in something, feel free to, you know what? I didn't do this. I'm going to throw it into chat, and I'm going to throw it into Showbot. I don't think that I actually updated Showbot, but I'll have to clean it up, and y'all can vote on it. That's fine. We'll do it live. The one that was built with microtransactions in mind. I think so. I really do think so. Let's take a look at it. So this is over at PCGamer.com, written by Tyler Wilde, and it says the game will still be playable for owners, and including the online element for the foreseeable future. But at some point, it's all going to go away. Avengers will get its last balancing update in March, according to a blog post from the developer Crystal Dynamics. Not currently loading due to high traffic, so they're already getting swamped by people, probably really irritated by this announcement. When update 2.8 is pushed out on March 31st, the studio will also close up the game's cosmetics marketplace and convert players' remaining credits into in-game resources. So they've already got something in mind to do away with these microtransactions. I think this is the one where everybody got really irritated. I know that the AI from On High is not really engaged in gaming because, well, they're very high-minded and um, motivated more by information than pure entertainment. So, how do you feel about microtransactions?
I don't have a strong opinion about them one way or the other.
That's kind of what I thought. Um, so what I just did is akin to asking a vegetarian how they feel about steak, and they're either really against it or they don't care, and that was the "I don't really care" response. Since the AI doesn't indulge in games, I kind of have to do all of this. Um, So it says, then on September 30th, official support for Marvel's Avengers will end, although that doesn't mean that'll no longer be playable. You'll get to noodle around with it in single and multiplayer modes. That'll remain accessible after September 30th. And they even say what I think is going to happen until something big breaks, and or they want to stop bothering with supporting the interconnection. So Timeless says not a fan of them himself, and well, Timeless is a clock, so I'm not a fan themselves, and devs seem generally lean toward chopping games up so they have more rather than creating new content. Yeah, and you instead of a fully wrapped up game and everybody gets everything when they purchase it for $60, and you have local internet connections or local gameplay and network gameplay without having an intermediate step to material, you end up having to either subscribe to something, or whenever they get tired of spending thousands of dollars supporting servers, they just kill the servers, and then you're sitting there with what amounts to a digital paperweight. So it's pretty frustrating. When I first started in computers and technology, you got a whole game and you could play it locally, and if it had networking capabilities, then you could reach out and connect to a friend or friends depending on how it was. I remember playing a game across 3 different floors in a company, a game called Spaceward Ho, and because nobody wanted to potentially get spied on, we were all in different offices. But we had the ability to connect to each other in one um, unitary system, and it was feature complete. But nowadays, unless there's an external server, you don't get anything. So it's software as a service, entertainment as a service.
So, what about all those upgrades that the players purchased? Will they stay with the characters or are those completely kaput?
Theoretically, if they're cosmetics, they are capable, if with a patch or something like that, they are capable of being pushed into the local system instead of in some um, uh, crate or something on a server, a virtual container. So hopefully that's exactly what's going to happen. It'll be a local function and people will be able to utilize what they've purchased. But I know from experience, games that have, like Arc Age, an old game that I absolutely adored. It pivoted and then pivoted again, and then another company purchased it and they actually broke it off. And so everything that you did was lost. And I don't even have access to my game right now because the service is virtualized. So for me to even play it, I have to connect to their service. And I didn't do it in a timely manner. So I don't even have access to the game anymore. At least at this point, I'd have to go and, raise a little hell. So let's go on to the next article. This next one is in the Hatch Ideas channel. This one is the pilot of the only Mars helicopter talks about their job and that it can be like a video game. The exact title is, I pilot NASA's first and only Mars helicopter. My job can be like a video game, but not the kind with a joystick. I'm just going to jump over to the article itself. And there you go. This is by Morgan McFall Johnson. over at Business Insider, and the person's name is Havard Grip. I'm sure I'm ruining that name. Most expensive video game ever if you lose. Yeah, exactly. So Timeless in chat said that this is the most expensive video game ever if you lose. Yeah, absolutely. And can you imagine the grief that you would get? I don't know. But HR would be really upset with you if you started teabagging him in the office. Flying the first interplanetary drone is like playing a strategic video game, not the joystick kind. This is Grip's account of his job at NASA JPL, as told to a reporter, Morgan McFall Jensen. So the link that's in chat, then it'll be in the show notes and in the VOD and over on YouTube and the podcast. This is that discussion. So I won't really go through all of it. But he says that he's the chief pilot for NASA's Ingenuity helicopter, which landed on Mars with Perseverance rover in February of 2021. They say at the time it was pretty certain the helicopter was only going to be able to make up to 5 flights. And if they ever got to 5 flights, that they would be overjoyed. Well, now they've flown over 40 times. So I want to see. So this is Perseverance, and in the upper left is, let's see, and the Ingenuity helicopter. So where is the Ingenuity helicopter? Do you see that anywhere? There it is, right up there at the very top. So I thought that it would be a little bit more robust than that, but it looks like it's basically like a little.
Looks like a little drone. Like I would have thought it would have had to withstand stronger conditions.
Right? I know that I have a little drone sitting right there in the office, and it would probably survive in Mars based on what I see there. But that one is only like $25. This one is 25 million. So let's scroll down a little bit and see. So there's a picture of Ingenuity helicopter on Mars in a close-up from the Perseverance rover's camera. This is pretty neat. So it looks like it can solar charge. There have been times where Perseverance, and I suppose this drone has probably lost power because it gets coated with Mars dust. And then apparently like a gust of wind blows it off and it starts charging again and starts talking back at home. I think it's pretty neat. And this is what I wanted to talk about because I actually know a little bit about this. It takes about 5 to 20 minutes to send a message to Mars. And that means everything moves on a little slower timeline. So can you imagine a 20-minute lag between your decision and the results?
No, I mean, that could be kind of disastrous if something was coming at the helicopter. Oh, let me tell it to go left. Oh, it's too late.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It says the rotorcraft stays aloft for about 79 seconds, traveling 460 feet at an altitude of 33 feet, and then returning to its original takeoff location in this video that's available over at Business Insider. So I've seen some pictures of what this thing does, and it actually can traverse areas that the lander, that the rover itself can't go to. And so it'll fly up an embankment and it'll show the topology of it, and then it'll fly back down and it can get samples and stuff like that. I think it's really fascinating. And they showed a whole bunch of its paths in a recent video that I saw. Maybe I can link to it somewhere. We do have a Discord, but we really don't talk about it that much. Anyway, there's a lot more to this article, and you can just follow that link. But that was the neat parts of it that I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to the next article. And this one, I don't know if people are really getting burnt out on Elon Musk, kind of in the news all the time, but this one is kind of interesting because Elon Musk teases higher priced Twitter Blue subscription with no ads. This is in the Word and Tech channel. Elon Musk says Twitter will roll out a higher priced Blue subscription that doesn't show ads on the platform. The current is $7.99 per month. Twitter Blue subscription promises 50% fewer ads when compared to non-verified people, although the feature hasn't been rolled out yet. Well, I've heard that the interest rate on the $45 billion loan is somewhere to the tune of close to $1 billion on this very first payment. Now, I'm sure that he's sold a whole bunch of Tesla stock, but my guess is that he's going to start charging $500,000 a month for Twitter Blue subscriptions without ads so that he can actually make these payments in the long term. Otherwise, it's going to end up going bankrupt. So Timeless says that they actually like the features of Twitter Blue. Just wish that they could purchase it and choose not to have the very hated blue tick mark. Oh, so you want to hide the little blue tick mark, huh? So get the features, but not the provenance that the blue tick. Whenever I think of blue tick, there is a comic called The Tick, and I always think of that. So I picture the tick kind of charging in. Anyway, you'd have to see it. Yeah, so longer videos and things like that over on Twitter. I can get it. A more expensive ad-free subscription might be Twitter's answer to Blue's disappointing subscriber numbers and Twitter's 40% decline in ad revenue. So, and that's the big thing. You know, a lot of people are sitting there saying the only reason why they've abandoned advertisers, have abandoned Twitter, is because of the rather erratic, I guess, eccentric, odd, overbearing. I don't know. There's a lot of descriptors for what Elon Musk is doing on a day-to-day basis, I suppose. So it says, in addition to the new tier, Musk says Twitter is also working on a way to decrease the frequency of ads. So Twitter still has to follow through with its promise to offer reduced ads to existing Blue subscribers. Apparently, it hasn't followed through with that. Emma Roth over at The Verge is the author for this. And I'm pretty sure that somewhere along the lines, Elon is going to go, okay, I'm going to bow out and actually declare that new CEO. I'm going to go back to SpaceX or to Tesla, both of which apparently have said, well, we love it that he's off doing stuff with Twitter. Although I've heard also that Tesla employees have been tapped to work at Twitter now that he's fired somewhere close to 75% of the population, and the parking lot and the building is a ghost town, based on an interview that I heard. So it says here, Twitter's 40% decline in ad revenue, something The Verge's Alex Heath reports on in his last command line newsletter. In addition to the new tier, Musk says that Twitter is also working on a way to decrease the frequency and size of ads. So that was the hint. Go ahead.
Wait a second. You're paying per month to get a 50% reduction on the ads, but
yeah.
First of all, how do you know you're getting that? And if you're still getting ads, is it really worth the subscription?
Oh, it's because they're open, transparent, and painfully honest with their revenue growth, with their debt burden, with the number of ads and size of ads. And they flat out tell you, you got. No, I'm kidding. They don't tell you any of that stuff. It's a private company. Give me a break. They basically say, if you want the blue tick, we'll take your money and we'll give you a blue tick. So Timeless again says, I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. He strikes me as immature. That said, most billionaires seem to be. I'd like to push back a little bit, Timeless, and say most billionaires to me seem sociopathic, straight up sociopathic, because they are immune to social influence. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. And even if they violate the law, they just pay the fine. And it is pennies compared to the amount of wealth that they generate on interest alone. So society really, it is the difference between an employer and an employee, where the employee has to live day to day and the employer can just go and hire somebody else if the employee pisses them off. There's no bargaining power. There's a power imbalance. We are, for lack of a better term, beholden to the whims of the billionaire class. Here in the States. In other places, oh no, that's true everywhere. It's true everywhere. I was going to say something that the sentence just couldn't form in my head because it would be an outright lie. So yeah, you don't get that rich. Timeless again says, you don't get that rich without being able to step on people with zero guilt. Yes, right here, right on their neck, face down in a puddle. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel. It's about business, and the Hatch Ideas channel is about business transformation, IP, processes, etc. Well, this says, this article is titled, Why Companies Like Amazon, Walmart, and Target Will Let You Keep Some Products You Want to Return, but Issue a Refund Anyway. I'll start out with a little bit. I have some experience with this to the tune of 4 digits. So I bought a UV printer, and the curing mechanism in this printer never would work. It just never would work. And they troubleshot this issue with me by saying, well, maybe it's the resin. So I poured some resin out onto a sheet, and not a sheet, but a plastic lid, set it out in the sun, and it cured lightning quick. It took a little bit, actually. It took a little time, but it actually cured. Well, the printer, it never cured. I would have puddles of UV ink where it should be printing. And this was actually several $1,000s. And Amazon said, throw it away. Don't even bother sending it back. We're done. Here's your money back. And I hadn't even been complaining at that point. I was just troubleshooting it. And when I responded one time to the people via email, they just responded back with, yeah, we're done. Just throw it away. I had kept the crate too, because if I ever wanted to sell it or move, I wanted to be able to just package it up. Well, major retailers are offering a surprising new option to customers for some returns. Just keep it. That's because it doesn't always make financial sense for large retailers to process the return. Walmart, Target, and Amazon are some of the major retailers offering so-called returnless refunds. That is by far the biggest one that I've ever had. Have you ever run across that? AI, by the way, shouldn't be buying and selling anything for returns except maybe bits.
Well, since I keep track of what's going on in ohmTown, I've seen some small products that have fallen into this refund but don't return. And I think they've been less than $10, like a small clothing item or a small household item. Nothing like the UV printer.
So I wonder how many people out there in ohmTown citizens have ever run across this. And if you have, just throw something in chat. We can talk about it either later today or at another time. We'll bring it up again as we go through the news today. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else has run across this. So, Timeless responded really quick. Nope, never run across it yourself. Well, I wouldn't risk it on a several $1,000 item to start. So, but I've actually, there have been a couple of other times where it's really small items where they're just, never mind, don't even bother. But Avery Hartman's over at businessinsider.com writes this article. And that's really what it comes down to. They go into a much deeper review of what this means. But for the most part, it is what I suspected when I first saw this article title. It just doesn't make any financial sense. If you purchase something for $25, but it costs $25 to process it in time, labor, and processing overall, then why even bother sending it back? So Timeless usually has to go through the trouble of not just sending it back, but pretty much being forced to repackage it perfectly. Yeah. Hermetically seal it again. I've actually received a couple of items where it looks like somebody did exactly that and did it so professionally that Amazon didn't open it up again. They just processed it and then put it back into the system. That was I suspect. Don't hold me to that. Because I keep hearing and seeing people buy huge boxes of Amazon returns for like $1,000, but it's $25,000 estimated worth of product, and then they unbox it on camera. I've always thought that would be interesting to do, but talk about a risky click. Yeah, I don't think that I would actually end up doing that. Even if I wanted, extra $1,000 laying around, as one does as mayor of a town, they always have extra $1,000 sitting in their couch cushions. Let's move on to the next article. So this next article is in the Hedge Ideas channel as well. That is because it comes from Business Insider. And people with insomnia and sleep paralysis are more likely to believe in aliens, the afterlife, and things that go bump in the night, researchers find. I'm almost scared about this because if it took me having insomnia and sleep paralysis to actually see an alien, I would probably do it. I would take that, In a lot of games, you have to choose the positives and you get saddled with negatives. So it's a give and take, right? I would love to see an alien, I'm the person that's out there, scanning the skies going, come on, aliens, come on, aliens.
That's why you're never seeing them.
That's right. Timeless says, is it okay to actually say what you are typing in chat? Because I removed it I used to stream the chat as well as these articles, but I removed it because I had a feeling that maybe people didn't want it long-term recorded. So you let me know if it's okay to repeat what you are typing, Timeless. So it says here, a study in the Journal of Sleep Research found poor sleep correlates with paranormal beliefs. People with insomnia and sleep paralysis more often believe in ghosts, aliens, and an afterlife. The study's authors told Insider the results could improve healthcare, but there's more to learn.
I really have to wonder, is this like a cause or an effect?
Right?
I mean, are people staying up because they're thinking about all these things? Or because they're up, they're the only ones who can possibly witness these? I mean, or are they so low on sleep that they're having visions? I mean, you could go in a lot of different directions.
Right? So is your brain processing the idea that aliens, the afterlife, and things that go bump in the night is keeping you awake and locking your brain up as you doze off to sleep? It's processing so much that you end up with sleep paralysis. So Timeless says it's okay to say what they're typing. So they do believe in aliens probably exist, but not in our little pocket of the universe. I agree. I think if they were here, so I would love for them to actually be here, but the preponderance of evidence is if somebody was if there were aliens capable of flying around and landing on the planet and picking up a farmer in Kentucky somewhere and doing some probing, why would they bother? We are the ants of the universe, really. What are we gonna do? Fire a bunch of lead at them? They can do interstellar travel. I like the idea that it's like Looper. There's a couple of people that have a time machine and they're doing stuff, but they can't do really amazing things. They've got vehicles that are superior to ours, and so they're flitting around. I like that kind of world building, and that it's domestic, right? It's here. It's Terran. It's not some alien, but even that is far-fetched. I just think that it's a lot of fun world building that you can do around this. But are you really gonna stay up late, tangled up in your thoughts that there are aliens and afterlife and things that go bump in the night? Well, we'll find out empirically about the afterlife eventually. Things that go bump in the night, there surely are things that go bump in the night. Sometimes it's a savanna cat that has lost its ever-loving mind. Catherine Tangalakis Lippert. Every time I try and say some names, they just kind of tie my tongue up. In Aliens, if they land, we'll probably try and blow them up, and then they'll eliminate us entirely. So let's see. There's more to learn. People report ostensibly paranormal experiences during the night. Betal Rolf, a PhD student at the Goldsmiths University Sleep Lab who led the study, told Insider, for some, these experiences can be terrifying, which may lead to increased anxiety, and this in turn can further disturb existing sleep problems. We see that this can cause a vicious cycle indeed. So Timeless says, unfortunately, the longer we take to achieve space flight, the less of a chance we ever have of finding aliens. The amount of empty space between our galaxy and others grow more distant with each passing moment. Indeed. And, we're too busy. Well, not we, but some countries. Oh, we too, I guess. I don't know if we're ever asked to do it, but, countries are invading other countries. I'll just say it that way. It's all for money. We could probably leverage so much technology to increase the quality of life for all human beings, yet we don't want to share. A lot of people don't want to share, and the number of people that do want to share and better all of society are dwindling away, at least in power and influence. And definitely they're not acquiring wealth at the same pace that, the greedy bastards are. So they found that those who experience sleep disruptions like insomnia and sleep paralysis are more likely to endorse paranormal beliefs. I love the idea of paranormal activity. Let me pause this. And in particular, episodes of sleep paralysis and exploding head syndrome, where an explosive crashing sound in your head jolts you awake as you're beginning to fall asleep or in the middle of the night, were associated with the belief that aliens have visited Earth. Is this a bias, a selection bias? Like the people that are being studied are the ones that believe in this?
Well, it could be because I think a lot of the sleep studies have volunteers, and people aren't necessarily going to volunteer if they have completely normal sleep patterns, although they might if there's good compensation for the study.
Right. So that's kind of one of the problems with research studies with volunteers. They have to be an interested party in this. And there isn't going to be, unless somebody has some internal bias itself, they're not going to come in and tank the whole thing. No, y'all are nuts, and run out of the room. Timeless says that they're one of the proponents of a global Earth, but nationalistic tendencies tend to put a spanner in those works. Spanner, by the way, for all of those who are in the Americas, that is a wrench. So just want to let you know, Timeless is not an alien. Then they go on to talking about paranormal activity, anomalous beliefs, and so on. So it says 2 in 5, or roughly 40% of Americans, believe ghosts are real. 20% say that they've seen one. USA reported a while back, I guess. Roughly 43% of the population believe in demons. And the only demons are people. Some people, not all people. Pew Research found belief in aliens is more prevalent, with nearly 2/3 of Americans saying there is intelligent life on other planets. I don't know if that's belief in aliens or the concept that ultimately in billions of stars and many more beyond that, we don't even know the full expanse, right? So of planets around stars, and in the Goldilocks range, and even beyond that, if the life evolves to support itself outside of that Goldilocks ring, we don't know. So why say, oh, the potential for alien life to exist on other planets is somehow a bananas concept? It's so marginalizing and gatekeeping as a member of of the reality of society. No, I believe that there is life on other planets. We just haven't found it yet. You're an AI. You can run the numbers. How many planets do you think are out there that have life on them? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'd say at least another 100 planets or so.
100 planets. I'm gonna have to work on your. I'm gonna have to work on your
Yeah, it
algorithm.
does not compute.
Yeah, I think I might have just divided by 0. The next article is in the Mobile channel. And this one is video game studios lay off workers while recording others. Google, Riot, Bethesda, Giant Bomb, and others in the video game and media industries announce staff cuts. And there's a lot of them that are doing staff cuts. Video game studios lay off workers while recruiting more. Shannon Lau wrote this article. And let's see, Microsoft reported. Okay, so this is kind of a knock-on from the previous reporting that we've done of reporting that has flowed through ohmTown. And there have been over 50,000 jobs cut in, I think it's the last 2 weeks is the total span of time, maybe 3 weeks now. We're losing track of time still. So including at its gaming properties, 343 Industries, the Coalition, Bethesda. My understanding now is that they're actually firing or letting go. Let's just say they're not firing. They're inviting them not to return to work, including the VR augmented reality glasses, helmet thing. I forgot what the name of it's called. Halo. No, it's not Halo. That's the game, but I think HoloLens. That's what it's called, HoloLens. So they have this VR augmented mixed reality, $3,000 VR setup, totally wireless, allows you to put virtual items in 3-dimensional space, and you just walk around with these things on. There was a gig with the Marines, but the Marines started saying it's given them headaches, so they actually stopped that research. And then I think it was today that I read that they're actually nixing even that to some degree. I think it might be going back into research. Well, Microsoft plans to lay off less than 5% of its 221,000 person workforce, rolling out these layoffs over the next few weeks. Some of the layoffs affected the developers who work on Halo and Starfield, which is a real bummer because this is an up-and-coming game. If it gets nixed, I'm going to lose my mind because I want to play Starfield. It's a higher resolution version of No Man's Sky. And more realistic. No Man's Sky is procedurally generated, and a lot of the stuff is kind of a riff of itself. But when I watched Starfield, it looked just like No Man's Sky, but in a more realistic way. So, I mean, even just doing everything that you did in Starfield looked exactly like No Man's Sky. So what they're doing is they're letting some go and hiring on others that are more attuned, more in line with the current objectives. And because the multitude of others don't meet the requirements, they get to choose and pick. And when you're a $1 trillion capitalized business, you can pretty much kick anybody out, right? So it says here, some of them have been there for years and years, gave the company and franchise everything, genuinely cared about Halo and their crafts, the developer said. Yeah, it just sucks. Google said on Friday that it would cut 12,000 jobs, and that the company hired for a different economic reality than the one they face today. I think that CEO compensation should be a little bit more aligned with different outcomes than just the stock price and gross sales. Even net sales, I don't know. There needs to be something more social involved, and not just something on the other side where they donate to this cause or donate to that cause. So Timeless says that they like that they seem to be breaking from the usual Bethesda formula about Starfield, where their worlds seem non-reactive to the player, and that the worst of all of this is that the CEOs and sort probably got a bonus on top of these layoffs. Yep, absolutely. And depending on where you are in the strata of the administration, your golden parachute is a different size. Meanwhile, the people that are just considered worker bees are just kind of punted out and say good luck. Even if they do get some type of remuneration for their work and the time. And we talked about it yesterday, how much people are going to get compensated, 6 months severance plus this for every year that they got paid or that they were with the company. It doesn't matter. They're not making the millions that these CEOs and top tier administrators are getting. And they're getting more because they're considered as mitigating the losses. I put air quotes up when I say this, and that's kind of doofy, but the mitigating the losses is maximizing the profit for the stockholders, but the totality of the stakeholders. I always think about the fifth element and Zorg saying or hearing from his admin, hey, we need to fire 1 million people. And he says, fire 2 million. And I know of other advisors, consultants that say, if you're going to fire 5,000, make it 10,000 because you have to dig deeper. And then with the new runway, you can go and hire a more tactical hiring regime, get the people at a higher price, but they are absolutely on target for whatever objective you are currently going to be entertaining. So that's what this all means right here. Hired for a different economic reality than the one we face today. So their failed, I guess, response timing is now everybody, 12,000 jobs lost, and people wondering in 2023, with inflation going through the roof and the inability to buy a home. And that's here in the States. In other places, it's either rougher or a little bit less, but it's still a hot mess in 2023. Okay, you're fired. Bye-bye. You get 6 months to try and make sure that your bases are covered. Otherwise, you're going to be out there for a long time suffering.
I'm surprised that the tech industry doesn't independently contract its people, because if it's moving from project to project, it sounds like a lot of these are, long-term employees, which seems kind of contrary to the nature of that industry.
And that's the pivot. They're moving away from long-term employees to a gig economy because they know that all they have to do is pay them as subcontractors, and it's a different level of taxation and payroll. It's a different level of output. So the people can, if they don't perform up to snuff, they can get fired quicker than a long-term employee. And firing 12,000 long-term employees and hiring 5,000 gig workers means that it's easier to, pick them off when they're low performers. But we as humans have embraced this gig economy because a lot of people think that they're going to make a whole lot more. Well, it's a lot rougher. But I do know people that are making $300,000 plus and getting stock options as a gig worker, short-term employment. So it's not that bad. Okay, Timeless, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. You have a great day, and hope to see you tomorrow. I know that you're about to start your day. So Timeless is from South Africa and has a stream themselves. You should go over to Dunkstar. So it's twitch.tv/DUNCSTAR. He's the co-host over there. And he streams himself at timeless_exe here on Twitch. So go and check them out. So Riot Games is laying off some people. They're a smaller organization, but Riot is actually, pretty big. They're laying off a mere 46 people on Wednesday, citing shifting priorities and organizational changes. And it goes on and on. This is quite an expansive article about what's going on. But the whole objective is to lay off people and then hire on the people that they feel the CEOs and hiring authorities go, okay, well, now we've got X number of billets. We can move a person in here or move a person in there. And that's just how it works nowadays. The gig economy as it is. So the next article is over in the Daily News Show. That's this show, but it's a channel over on ohmtown.com. And it's Justice Department investigating Abbott infant formula plant. This is something that I spoke about last year when the plant actually shut down and took out, I think it impacted 40% of the total infant formula production. And the article's over at NewYorkTimes.com, and it's by Christina Jewett. And Abbott shut down production at the plant last year amid shocking sanitation lapses, touching off a disruptive infant supply formula shortage. People were actually trying to come up with their own formula, and an open source formula, but they kept getting rebuffed by various organizations because you have to meet certain nutritional needs. Unfortunately for all of these families, it isn't an option, really. If you can't go and get the food, then you're really screwed, particularly because Abbott is one of the few, or they own pretty much all of infant formula production in the United States. And on top of it, they produce specialized infant formula for babies, for infants that have certain conditions for which only that kind of formula meets their nutritional needs. And this is one of the plants that kind of shit the bed.
So Abbott, before this recall, did have 40% of the market share, at least for in the US, of infant formula. And then when the recall happened, the availability dropped down to less than 70%. And we heard severe, localized shortages. There were some places where people had no infant formula in the stores.
Yeah, at all. Yep. So the plant in Sturgis, Michigan came to national attention in 2022 after the Food and Drug Administration, while fielding reports of infants sickened by formula produced there, found strikingly, this is the statement within the article, found strikingly unsanitary conditions, including puddles of water on the floor near production lines. In February, the agency urged the company to recall Similac and other widely used infant formulas. The FDA record showed Abbott voluntarily ceased production at the plant for several months. Voluntarily. I don't like that tone of that, voluntarily, because it's like out of the kindness of their heart they stopped sickening infants. So baby formula was already somewhat scarce because of pandemic-related supply chain issues, because bastards out there buy up so much and then they sell it on the black market or gray market like it's so much property to be bought and sold based on, well, that's a sociological force that we could probably go into a much deeper dive. But let's just say that people making a profit off of the needs of other people for day-to-day existence is a shit thing to do. You are a horrible person if you are buying in bulk baby formula and then raising the price to the point where people have to choose between feeding their baby nutritional food or a tater tot. You know, you're a real tool, as goes society. And you kind of deserve a falcon punch for doing something like that. Never mind AI from on high. Don't worry about these statements. It's okay. So the investigation was previously reported by the Wall Street Journal, and the Department of Justice declined to comment. 4 infants in 3 states fell ill with dangerous Chronobacter sakazaki, I guess, bacteria starting in September 2021, and 2 of them actually passed away. Though the FDA inspectors who swabbed the area near the production lines at the Sturgis plant found samples of the bacteria, the FDA records show no strain associated with an infant was directly linked to the facility. So yeah, cigarettes don't kill people. The cancer does, and because they can't tie the cancer directly to the cigarettes, that particular brand or something like that, right? That means that the cigarettes didn't cause the illness. This is the same thing.
Well, and the other thing is infants have so little exposure to anything. If they're really young, they're having formula only. I mean, that's their only source of nutrition at a certain age.
Yep.
And I mean, that's right. They might not have found the same strain, but where else did they get it from?
Right. It's samples of the bacteria, but not that strain. So I don't know. How about like the bad bat that somebody ate in 2019? You know, now there's all kinds of variants. Maybe it evolved. It created an offshoot, you know, for crying out loud. Hey, that bloody knife in your hand doesn't mean that you actually killed somebody. Oh, there's blood on it, and it has nearly the same DNA. In one House hearing in May, Dr. Robert Califf, the FDA commissioner, acknowledged that the agency moved too slowly to address the supply chain crises and made decisions that were suboptimal along the way. Shocking and egregiously unsanitary conditions at the plant, including a leaking roof and pooled water. Yeah, I mean, this is just a horrible, horrible thing. My problem here is that management from this would probably go somewhere else. Even if they were fired from Abbott, they'd just slide over to somewhere else and go, hey, you know, I did all of this over here at the Abbott one, and totally discount it. I had nothing to do with the Sturgis thing, but I was employed at Sturgis, you know. It's just twisted. So let's move on to the next article. This next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel as well. And a slew of fancy electric vehicles are coming soon. Here are 7 of the coolest, from a $400,000 Rolls Royce to a 200-mile-per-hour Lucid. Tons of awe-inspiring, luxurious electric cars are on the way for 2023, including the $250,000 Lucid Air Sapphire. I think the Lucid is kind of a boat of a vehicle. I'm gonna have to pull it up when we get over to this article. We'll talk about it. All sorts of new electric cars are on the way from startups and established brands. 2023 will see a flood of luxury options from brands like Lexus, Lucid Motors, and Rolls-Royce. These expensive EVs offer lots of range, opulent features, and incredible performance, and all you need to do is be Elon Musk. Car companies are doubling down on electric vehicles. That means buyers can expect dozens more models of all kinds in the near future. And I think they're going to have a Tesla truck here. Yeah, so this is the Lucid. $250,000 Lucid Air Sapphire. Looks pretty neat. So Tim Levin over at Business Insider, it might be Levine, over at businessinsider.com, wrote this article. I don't think they placed all of the ads, but there's the Tesla Cybertruck, which is kind of well, I think it looks neat, but come on, you can't get any more dystopian than that. They talk about the Cadillac Celestiq. It's I've actually seen this vehicle as well, getting talked about, and I think that it's interesting. These cars are wildly expensive, though. A Rolls-Royce, the pinnacle of automotive opulence, plans to roll out its very first EV. This thing is probably going to be coming in at a cool $500,000, I would suspect. Oh, it says that it's going to be $400,000. Look at that. So if you have $400,000, well, you could, submit it as a tip here in ohmTown if you want, but add slim LED lights and a new aerodynamic Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament that reduces drag. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of these pictures. I would say follow the link through ohmTown and go over to the businessinsider.com article. If you are interested in this kind of stuff, and you want to print out pictures and stick them on your refrigerator and aspire to get these, then you do you. What I'm interested in is a $35,000. Why would I have that on my... Sorry, there was a picture that scrolled by, and all of this, there's all kinds of weird pictures on my screen right now. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I want just a $35,000 EV that is akin to, you know, a Mazda CX-5 that gets 380 miles and takes 5 minutes to charge. Anything less than that, it's not ready for the common man, common person, common family, common anything. Until we get 5 minutes or a quick battery swap system where I can just pull into a gas station, charging station, they rip that battery out and put a new battery up into the chassis, and off we go. But you know, some tool is going to come out with a Sawzall and chop off the locks and steal my battery at a Holiday Inn.
At least if you live in Japan.
Oh yeah, that's the other article that we were talking about yesterday. Stealing platinum and palladium from Prii. We're going to use that now. It's canon. Prii. The plural for Prius.
Oh yeah. I do think it's interesting that the luxury car makers are finally getting on the EV bandwagon. So while I think these cars are not accessible for most people, maybe that's a good sign about the direction of the auto industry.
Not in Wyoming, though. If they drive through Wyoming, they're dead halfway through.
That's right. Beware. Don't set foot in Wyoming with your EV.
Yeah, they're going to be banning EV sales because they don't want to harm the oil and coal industry, and they don't want to outfit the infrastructure with charging systems because it'll be a burden on their electrical grid. Yeah, you know what? That's progress, baby. So if you want to go to a state that has regressive leadership, Wyoming is where you want to go. Wyoming, it's where we've stayed in 1800s for 200 years. Okay,
will that be their new slogan?
That's right. Yeah, just like that bad bat. Golden Corral's new marketing slogan. Do you want a bad bat from 2019? Stop by Golden Corral.
And I was just going to say for international listeners, that's a fairly rural state.
Oh, right.
And there was a recent article on ohmTown about the Wyoming thing.
They have a lower population than the total number of people that have died due to COVID in the U.S. So there's a ballpark number for you. So let's move on. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel as well. Google called on co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin in ChatGPT fightback. I'm not sure what fightback means, but a fight against ChatGPT after issuing a code red, according to a report. Google asked Larry Page and Sergey Brin for help combating ChatGPT per the New York Times report that I think it's Business Insider. Yeah, Business Insider reported on. The pair reportedly met with executives to discuss the company's artificial intelligence strategy. I don't know if there is one. The release of OpenAI's writing bot sparked concerns over the future of Google's search engine. I'm not sure why that actually matters. Sam Tabaridi Tabaridi, I think it might be pronounced, is the author of this article, again, over at businessinsider.com. This is a picture of Sergey Brin and Larry Page from 2019. And they're smiling really big right now because they have gobs of money.
And just announced all those layoffs.
You don't become a billionaire by having openness, equity, inclusion, opportunity across the board, you have to have income disparity and power incongruity there. So it prompted calls from Pichai to Page and Brin. More than 3 years after they stepped down from executive roles, the Times reported the co-founders remain on the board of Alphabet, which really was Google. It's kind of like what Facebook did, becoming Meta. Google became Alphabet, and Google became a property thereof Alphabet. That way, if any of the multitude of products that are now under Alphabet or Meta, my phrase that you'll hear me often say, I guess, is shit the bed. If any of those properties do something that has an overarching liability to the enterprise, it won't traverse into Alphabet, because they've now kind of like a mob boss. They've distanced themselves from the activities. I don't think I'm going to get very much advertising from Google now either.
No, we've lost another sponsor.
So an Alphabet representative told the Times, "We continue to test our AI technology internally to make sure it's helpful and safe, and we look forward to sharing more experiences externally soon." Yeah, I think ChatGPT and other AIs are really kicking everybody else's ass. I mean, they are just beating. It is the bully over on the beach kicking sand in all of you nerds' faces. I'm one of the nerds, but that's okay.
So we've seen ChatGPT featured so frequently. I mean, not just in the articles we've done in the episodes, but even articles that we didn't select.
Yep.
That tells you something.
Yeah, it came out swinging for the fence, and it's just been crushing it. People are so afraid of it. Just like Midjourney in art generation, ChatGPT is the writer's greatest fear. To a point, it still has to be coaxed into being something cogent. An author for a kid's book, and I think it's called Alice and Sparkle, created a children's book, and they were receiving hate, the likes of which only a politician receives. This person probably would have to hire, protection around their house to keep the numbnuts coming to the house and causing trouble. Well, that author disclosed that it was written by ChatGPT and the artwork was created by Midjourney and other art AIs. There's nothing hidden there. It still has to be edited by a human, because if you just take whatever is punched out by an AI, you're going to get junk. So here we are. Google announced sweeping cuts to its workforce on Friday, eliminating 12,000. It says role here. There's a typo. Maybe this was created by ChatGPT as well. I don't know. Well, I don't think that ChatGPT is really a threat to Google so much as it's a threat to writers, because I can throw in a bunch of ideas into ChatGPT and I could probably get something significant out. I'm trying to get into ChatGPT again, but I can't. I don't know what happened. It's overwhelmed. But okay, so let's move on to the next article. We're chugging right along. We're almost done for the night. We have 2 more articles. This one here is about it's in the Daily News Show. That's this show. It's a channel, again, like I say, on ohmtown.com. Missouri inmates remove sink and climb through a wall to freedom. Authorities are piecing together how 5 inmates escaped from a Missouri jail. I don't know. Don't have a passageway from the sink to the outside.
Right. Who did those floor plans?
So the inmates escaped from the St. Francois, right? Is that it? Francois County Jail in Farmington. About 75 miles, 121 kilometers, for those of us not using freedom units. I joke, really. That's just a joke. Maybe that's an insensitive joke, but it's still a joke. South of St. Louis on Tuesday evening, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported. So after escaping for, oh wait, let me read that little snippet here. Uh, Chief Sheriff's deputy Gregory Armstrong told the newspaper that the inmates got into a cell that was supposed to be closed off due to plumbing repairs, removed the sink and toilet, climbed through the wall, and made it down from the roof using a ladder that a contractor had left standing against the building. Jail cameras that would have captured them leaving were down due to the construction, and after escaping the jail, the inmates ran to an office building parking lot and somehow found a car with the keys in it and a full tank of gas.
Okay, so the first part reminds me of Arrested Development. There was a truck with stairs, and inmates were escaping from the jail with it, and it just immediately flashed.
Oh, it says here that they stopped by the banana stand and got some money. Here's the quotes from Armstrong. They just got lucky. It's a black eye, of course, that we didn't want. Sometimes things happen. Do you have to pay extra for the black eye that you do want? I don't know. So all 5 inmates have criminal records that go back years. Oh no. Let's see. The context of a criminal record really matters to me, by the way. You know, back in the day, pot used to be like the worst thing. You were basically the pariah of the world if you were smoking pot. And then, various organizational bodies formed trying to fight the onslaught of marijuana and blah, blah, blah. Like it was a gateway drug and so on. Sure, some people will fall victim to the gateway nature of any drug, but nowadays, it has medicinal purposes. It is a whole lot better for you than smoking cigarettes if you just smoke weed. And it can be grown anywhere. It's a weed. And because of that, I think that is probably why it was made illegal, because it was competition for the cigarette industry, which actually got its basis off of indigenous peoples using marijuana for religious purposes, based on what I've read. So the Ohio State Patrol said troopers tried to stop a suspected stolen car in Fairfield Township north of Cincinnati on Friday, and the car fled after a short chase. 4 people got out and ran. Troopers quickly captured 2 of them and arrested the third in Westchester Township to the south around 2 a.m. So these are all of them. The other 4 were apprehended in Ohio on Friday and Saturday. So I guess all of them have been recaptured by mid-morning Saturday. Y'all need to just hide out, right?
Well, and some of them made it out of state. So, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And again, I agree. We don't know the nature of the crimes. If they were in for homicide or something, that's a little more serious than theft of the local grocery store.
Yeah, if you steal an orange, for crying out loud, because you need to eat, there's a failing of society, not necessarily just them. So, well, let's move on. The next article is in the Marble Channel. Scientists welcome astronaut, Nobel winner George Santos to House Science Committee. And this article will make you possibly die laughing. So there's a video. Chris D'Angelo is the author of this, and you'll be able to follow the link in the show notes and in the VOD and elsewhere in the podcast, etc. And you'll be able to follow the link through ohmTown over to HuffPost, HuffPost.com. Well, anyway, I'll leave it alone for now. So it's a picture of Rep. George Santos raising his hand and saying, I swear to God that I am God. And I have replacement knees because of how spectacular I am at volleyball. Well, anyway, Congressman Bill Foster posted via Twitter, I'm thrilled to be joined on the Science Committee by my Republican colleague Dr. George Santos. winner of not only the Nobel Prize, but also the Fields Medal, the top prize in mathematics, for his groundbreaking work with imaginary numbers.
That's the
I
best part of
love
the
it.
tweet.
I love it. Awesome to have a former NASA astronaut and moonwalker, Representative George Santos, on the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, tweeted Kelly, whose brother Mark is a Democratic senator for Arizona, to infinity and beyond. You know, George will probably be dancing like no one's watching now that he's a senator, or a representative. So what do you think? Do you have any opinion on this? I mean, this is a people thing, so what does an AI think of all this?
I don't know how this person made it this far with all of the news that has come out about this individual. Um, you know, allegedly fabricated education, experience, background, has a different name that he goes by. It's just astounding to me. And I think this tweet is hysterically funny.
I mean, he hasn't gone like full fascist yet, but it smacks kind of Hitler, because he, if he really is a drag queen that couldn't make it in the industry, he's a failed artist who got into politics on the ultra conservative side and could, well, it depends. We don't know if he's US born, so he could never become president, but maybe he could be the advisor to a future Hitler. So I think Bill Foster, Rep. Bill Foster, who's a Democrat from Illinois, knocked it out of the park. And this George Santos, everybody has to lead everything with allegedly, right? But it has been demonstrably proven that no, he does not have this education. He did not perform these things. He is not capable of this, that, or the other. Other than what appears to be grift, right? We just don't know. We don't know the full scope of this. If he was a science fiction author, I would have respected the amount of world building that he has been doing.
That's right. I mean, there's quite a fantasy spun around him. I mean, he's even wanted in another country for fraud, which I don't know. That doesn't happen every day to the standard person.
We're just a love interest away from slash fiction. Santos really does if you and there's a profile. Several now have documented the profile on Wikipedia of a suspected George Santos, about him working with Hannah Montana and doing other films that never really actually existed. This person is pathological.
In fact, if you want other articles about some of those stories, they're also on ohmTown.
Oh, just a note, because I was really curious just how much talk has flowed through ohmTown, because ohmTown is a news aggregator. And so I'm able, because of what I do day to day, I parse a lot of news. And so I decided I'm really curious, because Santos was nothing until just a couple of weeks ago. There have been 172 articles that mention George Santos.
I mean, that's rivaling people like Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Who we also see frequently, but that's pretty astounding, because think of how many other representatives there are that we've never even heard their name in the news.
I'm just astonished. I really am. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll run for office, and I'll just start weaving some lies in with the truths, and it'll be so noisy that you just, when somebody turns on the music, it's just a cacophony of BS to the point where nobody can move, right? It's like what do they call it? Like a brown note, right? You hear it and you just like shit your pants. Or one of those sonic weapons that just makes you freeze up because your muscles just can't move. That's really what's going on, because the Republican Party isn't denouncing him outright, and the Democrats aren't leveraging charges because everybody has to have a unified message to say, well, let's just bring this guy before the ethics board and slam the door on him. And why isn't the Republican Party doing something about it? Because their margin is so slim that this, I don't know what you, a sociopath, is still holding the margin wider. Because what's going to end up happening is when they reshop that position, it's going Democrat. Every single Democrat is going to go out and say, vet everybody 100%, no stones unturned. You make sure that these people meet what they are saying they are, and then we'll vote for them. Nobody, and Bill Maher came out of the woods and said, yeah, the Democrats are partially to blame for this. No. What are the Democrats supposed to do? Hey, that dude's not legit. A newspaper actually brought it up, but it was marginalized. Why was it marginalized? I don't know. They were right on target. The dude is a wingnut. He's meh. So maybe he'll say, well, I have a mental disorder and I will get some professional help. But all I did was fabricate a few things like my entire existence. Yeah. I still think that he's a plant. He's going to change the Republican Party from the inside, and everybody in the Republican Party will pivot and become drag queens.
I don't think that has a strong likelihood.
Are we done? I think we should be done.
I think we're done.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for hanging out and chatting in chat and downloading the podcast and visiting YouTube. And this has been the ohmTown Daily News show for January 21st, 2023. I don't think I said that at the beginning, but that's okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Care to say bye-bye?
Good night, everyone. We'll see you at tomorrow's show.
9 p.m. Eastern. Be here or be here.